Good morning. How are we? It's nearly the afternoon. I was just about to say, if you can see me, if you can hear me, drop me a like. Then I'm used to doing Facebook Lives. But I thought I'd do something different today. I thought I would do an in-depth video. It'll be in two parts of what life was like when I had burnout and PTSD and what it was like after. Reason for this video is as a hypnotherapist who helps people with this sort of thing. Hopefully it resonates with you if you're on YouTube searching for help. Because the thing is, at one point in my life, which I now consider to be the best part, I was at rock bottom. I was at the lowest anybody could possibly be. I was working at the time for a large delivery company. Name shall not be mentioned. But needless to say, they were not a very good company to work for. As a business owner, at 23, I started my haulage company. I got into loads of mindset traps with that, being a business owner, that led to being burnt out, which led to other things. But it was things in my personal life, not my business life, really, that led to the PTSD, which we'll get onto. In regards to burnout, when I started my business, I was 23. That year, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. At the time of starting the business, everything was going to be fine. I was going to operate. It was lung cancer. I was just going to operate and give him a shot of chemo and all that. And I said he'd be fine. However, I pissed around that much, the doctors and the system, that from getting a diagnosis to actually getting help was 6 months. 6 months of nothing, really. He'd gone for other tests and that, and they did the usual fannying about. By the time they actually pulled the finger at their arse to do something, it was too late. It spread to his brain. Can't do anything for you now. But what we will do is, because this type of cancer is usually found in older people, we're going to use you as a guinea pig. And that's what they did. And I do hope that for the suffering that my dad went through and for what me and my mum witnessed, that they got some good medical research out of it. They didn't lose the results, and they've actually put some use to it. That's all I can say. So, my dad was always one of these people who'd get up every morning, go to work. He was a floor screeder. For those of you who don't know what a floor screeder is, in UK houses especially, I don't know how it's done. Abroad, under your flooring, there is a layer of screed that goes on top of your concrete before your furnished flooring goes on. And that's what he did. He was a floor screeder. And he did that all his life, really. His dad was a floor screeder. And you get the pattern. So, he's always worked, and he was the main breadwinner for the family. We lived off his money. Mum worked as well, but hers was more of something that she wanted to do. It started off as a hobby that she then turned into a business. But it was my dad's money, my dad's wages that we lived off. Mum my mum looked after me as a child till I was old enough to go to school. And then she trained to be a therapist and started a business doing that, doing reflexology, aromatherapy, that sort of thing. My dad, when I was 2, was diagnosed with something called Behçet's disease. This is a tropical disease, and he'd never been abroad. So he got this disease, and it took his eyesight from him. He was blind in one eye, partially sighted in the other. Did not let that stop him. And he worked on the building site right up until the cancer stopped him. Now, I remember as a child, my mum and dad hid, like, most things away from me. I had a really good childhood. I had everything I needed. Not necessarily everything I wanted, but I had everything I needed. And I was taught to get the things I wanted, to earn it, to work for it. So my dad would go out to work, and I know sometimes he'd go and the symptoms or the side effects of the medication he was on was he'd have brittle bones. So there was times when his ribs were broken, but he'd go to work anyway. So this to me was normal. So moving on a bit, as the years go on, I got to school, get to college. Always wanted to be a driver. Always wanted to be, whether it be a lorry driver or whatever. But I started my own. Well, at the time I worked at a bedroom furniture factory. Minimum wage job, building furniture, wardrobes and units, that sort of thing. I remember it being a Friday. I'd had a row with the boss again. And I walked out, went to a bank, told him I needed a loan for a sports car. Because I had no business plan or anything. Just thought I've got to get out of this. Got the money, got the loan, bought my first van with it. £6,000 oldish van. Plenty of miles on the clock. Didn't really know what I was going to be doing with this van. All I knew was what was known as CJH Deliveries was born. Landed a contract with a bedroom company or people who was delivering for them, and I became one of their vans. And I was doing the same thing as you do when you work. I was just working for the money. Because that's what you do, isn't it? Work for the money. That's why we work. So anyway, we started a business. So I started a business and pushed on, and then the realisation hit that soon we're going to be without Dad's money and the savings are going to be gone. Time to step it up. And that's what I did. Pushed and pushed and pushed. Thought I was getting somewhere, but I wasn't. Just ransacking the place here while I get my cup. Burnout is an accumulation of stress. Stress that just comes bits and bits and bits, or it could just be huge lumps of stress that just fill up a stress bucket, if you like. Imagine you've got a bucket in your head, all that stress goes. Eventually it's going to overflow. And that's what mine did. But what really triggered it was the night my dad died. We brought him home from the hospital to die, and they'd set up a bed in the living room and all that. He lay there. And personally, I am a supporter of euthanasia. I believe, and whether or not you agree with me or not, that's up to you, and that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. However, I believe that when a person is past the point of no return, they should be given something to put them out of the misery. Because you wouldn't let a dog, you wouldn't let a bloody rat or a guinea pig go through that night. They brought him back, and he was in bed. By this time, he was gone. He was like, he could move and whatever, but it was literally just unconscious reactions to things. And they came and gave him a sedation and all that, and off he went. During that 15 hours that we sat with him, there was me, my mum, my aunt and uncle. During that 15 hours, that night that we sat with him, from when he came home to when he actually died on the morning, it just makes you think, why? Like, and that's what I was thinking at the time. Why do they let people do this? How is this humane? Well, that thinking and the images of that night, what happened was, it added on to the stress and the trauma of everything else that happened. Because don't forget as well, being a delivery driver and traveling the country, you see a lot of things. You see a lot of crashes. And I've seen dead bodies. I've seen injured people at the side of the road. And it all adds up. It all adds up to that. It might not bother you at the time, but it's a stressor. It's a traumatic event. And it builds up and builds up. Some hypnotherapists claim it as a root cause. I don't believe in root cause. You know why? Because I help people with PTSD. And the majority of time, what people come to me with is the last thing to happen. And I do apologise if you can hear a lawnmower in the background. There's nothing I can do about that. But this image that's in our head that causes us torment is a lie. Now, I know that the image or the movie that was in my mind, because that's how it becomes, this memory, all these little images come together to make a movie that replays over and over and over again. This movie has negative images linked to it: guilt, anger, frustration. Little bits of that night got together to make this movie. Now, I know that it didn't happen as I was remembering it. But still, the guilt, pain, shame, and anger that I did not help my dad die was there. And it was there for 6 years. Every single day. Morning, afternoon, night. That image. Bang, it hit me. Bang, it hit me. Go away for a bit, come back. Sometimes it was that bad I could smell things. I could smell death, if you want. It was there. It was so real. But the reason why I don't believe in a root cause is because of this. I knew that was the trigger of it all. But it went back, right back to when I was about 17, 18. My gran, who I was very close to, she got lung cancer. She died. But her death was a very different thing. She refused treatment. She didn't want treatment. So apart from painkillers, all she wanted to do was see me pass my driving test and do my food for my 18th birthday party, which she did, both. She died of a heart attack. Went upstairs, had a heart attack and died. But that was really the first death of somebody who I was very, very close to. But we knew it was coming. So I guess I could prepare myself for it. So I did, in the way that I knew then, which wasn't... I didn't know what I was doing. Then, not long after that, my granddad was diagnosed with dementia. And if you have somebody in your life who's got dementia, you know exactly what that's like. But the thing is, I'm not a carer. And I take my hat off to anybody who can. People think for me to do this, that I'm a carer. I'm not. You see, when you come to me with symptoms, and I'm not really bothered about the symptoms. I want to find out that real person behind this mask of negativity. And my job is to get that real person out. So he got dementia, and me not being a carer, I was useless. My mum was working, my dad was working, I was working, but not a lot. But I didn't help. There was times when I'd pull up outside the house and his curtains were still closed. And he was always wanting to get up quite early. When it comes to like 10, 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning when I used to go around, sometimes his curtains were closed. And the thoughts in my head were, I hope he's died. I hope it's over. And I'd open, I'd unlock the door, I'd walk in, and he'd be there sat in the chair, watching the telly. He just forgot to open the curtains. But my heart would sink, because here it goes again. So now I've got that guilt, that shame, that pain on top of what's already happened. Then what happened? Then my dad happened. And that night he died was the final bit that was to blow the top off the fizzy pop bottle, if you like, overflow the stress bucket. And it was that image that was stuck in my head, as I say, for 6 years. I lost one relationship because I was focused too much on my business. She left me for somebody else. I lost my marriage because I was a burnt out wreck. But in my head, because I was manning the fuck up, I was dealing with it. I don't talk to anybody, not me. I'm John Wayne. I'm Clint Eastwood. I'll go to work because this is how you do it. This is how my dad did it. How his dad did it. So this is how I'm going to do it. And that's the mindset we're getting. It's taught to us. Not necessarily consciously taught to us. It's just what happens. And then, come 2020, we had a lockdown. My brother-in-law took his own life. And I think that shook my wife to the point she knew she had to be herself. She then later on that year came out and said, I'm gay, and what could I do? I mean, we'd been off, quite a while. But honestly, when we had that conversation, our relationship changed. One, because she was brave enough to tell me who she really was and how she really felt. And two, this miserable monster of a bastard that I turned into, that was up here, I didn't have to bother her with anymore. Because I'd go to work, I'd come back, and I'd hide away in my bedroom. I had a separate room with my computer and that, and I'd sit there and play games all night. Escape to a pretend world. I'd talk to people constantly on Facebook who lived in America. Because again, I could mask it. I could be somebody else. I could be the person I wanted to be. End of 2020, my uncle, who was like a second dad to me, collapsed at work, never woke up. He died. And then it was Christmas 2020. That was it. It was the end. I'd had enough. I couldn't live like this anymore. The plan was, and this was a rational plan, this was an intelligent plan, this wasn't a spare of the moment emotional thing. This was, right, because I'd done other things to end my life. Indirect suicide, it's called. I'd walk around the town at night wearing jewellery and that, hoping to be mugged, because I either wanted somebody to jump out at me and I'll get stuck in on them and take out all my anger and all that on them, or they'd kill me. And again, looking back now, that's way of thinking. But at the time, rational, intellectual, it was a way out. I was going to have the last Christmas with my family, say my goodbyes. January, when I went back to work, the plan was to get the work van, stick it under a lorry. I'd never bothered asking for help before because, as I said, I was manning the fuck up. I don't need help. I'm coping with it. I'm dealing with it. Yeah. I visited my auntie. And again, I just told her, from what I can remember, I just told her I was feeling miserable. She gave me this card. She says, "Go and see this hypnotherapist." I saw him a few years back. He really helped me. Didn't think much of it. Last time I saw hypnosis, I think I was about 13 years old, on holiday in Fuerteventura. And there was a bloke getting people to do weird things on stage. And even then, I don't ever remember that sticking out at me thinking, oh, that's what I want to do when I grow up. To this day, I don't know why I called him. But I'm glad I did. I found him, spoke with him. And in the next video, you're going to find out how my life changed. Not only thanks to him and hypnotherapy, but what I did after. I hope you can join me for that. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye now.